So with me today I have Magnus Precht from NeoDynamics, and he's going to tell us a little about the interesting American-US market, how it works, what NeoNavia can do for the patients over there, and when they expect to launch the product in US. So welcome, Magnus. Could you briefly update us on your role within NeoDynamics and your experience from the American market?
Thank you. Yes, certainly. So I moved to the United States in 1990, and I stayed there for 22 years altogether. And I was working both with pharmaceuticals, biotech, and medical devices. So I have a broad experience and have been very successful, especially in the medical device field, with new strategies for how to reach the market there.
Yes, and this is of course of great importance for NeoDynamics, who have this promising product coming into the market. So how do you see NeoNavia, and what can this platform and technology, the Pulse technology, do for the US market?
Yes, I think it's a fantastic platform, really. It's more than a single product, and what it does is that it's able to take biopsies, also very small tumors in difficult locations where you're afraid of getting into a blood vessel or the lung or something like that. And also, we have the possibility to avoid a lot of surgical biopsies. The first indication of NeoNavia is breast cancer. And to find out if the breast cancer has spread, you need to go into the axilla or the armpit and take a biopsy of the lymph node. And today you do that with surgical biopsies. Here you will be able to do it without the surgical biopsy. So that will save a lot of money. You don't need to get into the operating theater, etc. But overall, this system, if you compare it with what they do today, they don't have the precision. It's a rough method, and which is natural because the current biopsy systems were developed when we found tumors at a late stage when they were large. But with modern mammography equipment, you can find tumors that are less than 10 millimeter. And then you need to have a millimeter precision. And that is what NeoNavia's pulse-driven system offers. It goes millimeter by millimeter, and you're using ultrasound at the same time. And then you can get a great tissue sample. And that tissue sample is extremely important. It's not only that it's at the right size, it has to be the right quality, enough of tissue. And so besides from the pulse system, NeoDynamics had developed a new way of cutting the biopsy, so you get high quality tissue sample. That's extremely important.
Mm-hmm. Then you very briefly update us on the FDA filing you did the end of February, and maybe tell us a little about how you as a medtech company differentiate from a traditional pharma company when it comes to FDA filing, because we know from pharma companies it's more complex, as I understood it. Could you elaborate a little on that, Magnus?
Yes, certainly. So we don't need the huge clinical trials that you need for a lot of drugs. You have a standard when it comes to medical devices. You have a device that you compare yourself with, simply said. And you should show that you have at least as good results with the device you compare yourself with. And this is, so it's smaller, more animal study kind of preparation before you file. And when you file, it's a 510K. And we managed to file that on the 28th of February, just 3 days late, which is astonishing especially in this time of the pandemic, etc. And FDA has a relatively short route for approving this. It could be as fast as 90 days. These days it's hard to say because they have so much work due to the pandemic. But we believe that it will be relatively fast. In the beginning of next year latest, we will be able to get out to the US market. And this US market is tremendously important for NeoDynamics. The US healthcare market is the biggest in the world, and it's very high technology. It's driven by high technology. The American physicians really want to be in the forefront, and they like these new inventions that can improve the care. So we think they will start with the more difficult biopsies, like when there is difficult to take a tissue sample, what I mentioned before, if it's a blood vessel or the lung or something like that, and also to avoid surgery for the axilla. And I think that will be very much appreciated, not the least by the insurance companies, because they're going to save a lot of money by not have a need to get into the operating theater. But then we should also think about this as a platform. This pulse technology gives us a possibility to widen in the future to other indications. And that will certainly happen. And NeoDynamics are also already preparing for new indications. Then some people may say, but okay, now you have liquid biopsies, so you don't need this. That's actually totally wrong. It just makes it even better for NeoDynamics because we're going to find more tumors. But all these tumors, you need to have a tissue sample for them to decide how to treat. So it's going to be a big, and these tumors a lot of times are very, very small. So even more important with the pulse technology. So this will drive the market and market share for NeoDynamics on the US market.
Thanks a lot, Magnus. Really good.
Thank you.
Good answers to the questions. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate your interest.